What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. I'm Ryan Thomas. I am your host once again. In case you don't know who I am, in case that this is the first time you have ever sat down with a cold one and listened to me lay out my take on a sports topic, I am Ryan Thomas, 24 years old, from Buffalo, New York, Western New York, avid Buffalo Bills fan, avid mixed martial arts fan, avid Boston Red Sox fan, avid Buffalo Sabres fan. Also a sports writer for MyFantasySportsTalk.com. Also a sports writer for Sabres Hockey Central. Also a sports writer for Apple Bottom Sports. Also a sports writer and... Actually, no, not a sports writer. I have so many sports writer gigs, I forgot that I only have 3. So... 3 sports writer gigs, 1 commentating gig, which will be starting in June. I will be the MMA play-by-play announcer for Ground Force Fights, which is a mixed martial arts organization in Batavia, New York, at Batavia Downs. Very excited. Batavia Downs is a casino in Batavia, New York, where Thurman Thomas has a sports bar inside. The former Buffalo Bills all-time great, former Buffalo Bills running back, Hall of Famer, Thurman Thomas's bar, 34 Rush. If you have not checked that out, check it out. He's got awesome memorabilia from his playing days, and it's a good sports bar atmosphere. So check that place out. That being said, I want to give my take on UFC 208, which takes place February 11th at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, where the inaugural UFC women's featherweight belt will be on the line as Holly Holm, the former UFC bantamweight champion, will take on Jessica Randamie. Hopefully I am pronouncing her name right. If I'm pronouncing her name wrong, my apologies. I am terrible with pronouncing last names that have Brazilian nationality to them. That I'm working on in case of this Ground Force Fights gig. But I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing it right. Randamie. So, this is an entertaining fight. Holly Holm, obviously, everyone knows who she is in the MMA circles. She's the woman that beat the woman, knocking out Ronda Rousey back. I believe it was UFC 193. And that was a fight, maybe it was UFC 189. I can't remember. November 2015. She took on Ronda Rousey, beat her by head kick knockout, and her name flew through the roof. She was the first person to defeat Ronda Rousey in mixed martial arts combat, and did so in devastating fashion. And it's definitely something that I foresaw coming, not in that fashion, but I thought that it was a fight that she could definitely win. Her boxing pedigree, her kickboxing pedigree. She is a remarkable boxing athlete, a remarkable kickboxer as well. Really a remarkable mixed martial artist. What she has in her tool belt in terms of striking is second to none for any woman. But she has had 2 losses in her last 2 fights. Her first title defense was her first MMA loss, where she lost by technical submission via rear naked choke in the 5th and final round to Miesha Tate at UFC 196. She lost her last fight, which was a main event appearance on UFC on Fox, to Valentina Shevchenko, another kickboxer. It was a unanimous decision. She just could not find her footing, could not find her range. She looked hesitant. She hasn't looked the same since beating Ronda Rousey. Why is this? Really why this is because that win versus Ronda Rousey was such a huge moment for the sport. And it was such a huge moment for her career, for her life. And when you're at that high, you're at the pinnacle of your fame, it's real easy to lose touch of yourself, to lose touch of that. Who would have thought at the time that Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm fought each other that the winner of that fight and the loser of that fight would lose their next fight? In the case of Holly Holm, she's lost 2 fights. In the case of Ronda, she's lost 1 fight. But 2 fights in a row. So, for both of those fighters to have 2 fight losing streaks is insane. I never thought I'd see that. But this sport of mixed martial arts is a crazy sport. Nobody is unbeatable. Nobody is untouchable. That's why the betting odds for this fight have Holly Holm as a heavy favorite. And Jessica Jermaine Randamie, they call her Jess at her gym, so I've called her Jessica a few times. I don't know if that's her real name. But we'll call her Jermaine Randamie, has been one of the most premier stand-up Muay Thai strikers for any female, let alone any fighter in mixed martial arts. She's a 3-time world champion. She held a women's Muay Thai kickboxing record for going on a 37-0 win streak. 37 consecutive kickboxing victories. So, they found the match for Holly Holm. They found someone that is a real kickboxer compared to Holly Holm. And that says a lot. Holly Holm is an 18-time world boxing champion. She was virtually undefeated as a kickboxer as well. So this could be a real stand-up brawl between 2 women, and we haven't really seen that. The strawweights offer that in doses, but they're not powerful enough to finish anyone, where these ladies could easily kick each other's heads off. That I'm excited for, but I gotta give a prediction. I just passed the preview point. I have to give a prediction. I gotta go with Holly Holm. I can't pick against Holly Holm. I picked her to beat Miesha Tate. She let me down. I picked her to beat Valentina Shevchenko. She let me down. But I will not stop picking for Holly Holm. Why? Because she trains at the best gym in the world, Greg Jackson's gym. She trains with one of the best striking coaches in mixed martial arts, and Mike Winkeljohn. The master, the grand master of mixed martial arts striking, Mike Winkeljohn. The grand master strategist, the best MMA strategist in the world, Greg Jackson. I believe in those guys. I buy in to what those guys are selling. And I think that Holly Holm will get back in the win column. Plus, I like the fact that Holly Holm will be fighting at 145 pounds. I think that's a better weight class for her. I think she'll be thicker, stronger, more physical. She will not be hesitant to wrestle. She will not have a speed disadvantage any longer in the grappling department. And if anything, to think that her power could be even better as a featherweight compared to a bantamweight, that says a lot, because her power at bantamweight, we all saw what she did to Ronda Rousey, and it was vicious. So I'm going to go with Holly Holm in this fight for the Women's Featherweight Championship, the inaugural Women's Featherweight belt. If she wins, this not only makes her the first Women's Featherweight Champion in the UFC, this makes her the first woman in mixed martial arts UFC history to hold 2 belts in 2 separate weight classes. That puts her in Hall of Fame territory. Think about that. We're talking about Conor McGregor and how he won the UFC lightweight belt, how he won the UFC featherweight belt. He held them both at the same time for 18 days. This is the first woman, quite possibly if she wins this fight, she would be the first woman, female mixed martial artist in the UFC to hold 2 belts at 2 separate weight classes. Not at one time, but the first woman to do so in mixed martial arts history. I think that is huge. She'd be the first woman to put herself in the company of Randy Couture, BJ Penn, and Conor McGregor. I think that is remarkable. And I think it's quite possible. I do think the UFC needs to beef up this card a little bit. UFC 208, it's not stacked. You could witness history, as I just mentioned, but there should be more fights on this card. That's a fact. I'm excited that Anderson Silva is on the card. He'll probably be in the co-main event against Derek Brunson. Travis Brown versus Derek Lewis, Glover Teixeira versus Jared Cannonier, Jacare Souza versus Tim Bosch, okay, that's not bad. Dustin Poirier versus Jim Miller, that's a hell of a fight. Paul Felder versus Gilbert Burns. Paul Felder is a warrior. Ian McCall versus Neil Seery. I can't believe Paul Felder is actually back in the cage. Ian McCall versus Neil Seery. Ian McCall hasn't been around in quite some time. I don't know what stage will they put Derek Brunson. And Derek Brunson's name on the billing is first as of now to Anderson Silva. Brunson versus Silva. That just goes to show you that Anderson is on a bit of a downslide. He's going down. So I'm hoping that they do put another fight on this card. UFC 209 is more stacked than UFC 208, and UFC 209 is in March, and UFC 208 is in February. So what fight could the UFC put on to make this a better event? The event is a month away. Only time will tell. Take care, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Thomas Take. And hey, if you want to follow the Thomas Take, if you want to know what's going on with every single episode, I have a Facebook page, Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Search it, like it, listen. You can also follow me on YouTube, subscribe to me on YouTube, Thomas Take 92. Every single episode of the Thomas Take is on that YouTube page. Every single one. Dating back to last year. So check it out. Subscribe. If you want to join me on the Thomas Take, email me at thomastake92@gmail.com. There's no at symbol on the front. I just said at to email me at thomastake92@gmail.com. Take care, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. A lot more to come. This show will never stop. This train will just keep on moving. Hashtag Thomas Takeover. Take care, everybody.